Hi everyone, so today we are doing lesson 2.6 in our math lesson, and we're going to start out by talking about finding rules in a pattern or in a chart, and then your home links is actually going to be over finding and using multiplication in a story problem. But we're going to start out on page 47 in our journal books, and we are going to talk about some of the information on this before we get to the problem solving. So it says Mr. Ching's class is trying to figure out the rule for the table below. For the rule to be correct, the rule must work for all the rows. So it can't just be for the first and second or the first and last row it worked. It has to be for all of our lines. In the table below, the first column shows educated guesses or conjectures for rules that Mr. Ching's students made up. Some rules are correct and some are not. So we are going to figure out which of these rules are correct and which are not. So these are conjectures. So say conjecture. A conjecture is an educated guess. So we talked about educated guesses when we looked at making a hypothesis in science. Today we're looking at educated guesses as when we look at a conjecture to make a rule. It is what we believe a rule could be without necessarily trying it out 100%. Okay? Then it says, circle yes or no to tell whether the rule is correct. Then write an explanation or argument. So an argument is an explanation as to why you think that's correct. Okay? So we have conjecture, which is an educated guess, and an argument, which is your explanation. Okay? So an argument in this sense is not yelling or fighting over something. It's just stating why you believe that that is correct. Okay? So now that we have this, so a conjecture is an educated guess, an argument is your explanation. All right, so let's look at our chart. Okay, so at the top, you will see a little weird graph, and then you'll see this chart that I have in blue. So it says in and out. So the in is the number that we started with, the number that we put in, and the number out is what we got after the rule. So it's kind of like that little diagram that they have next to this chart is kind of like a machine, okay? You put a number in, a rule happens inside the machine, and then you get a new number out. So that's kind of how you're going to think about it. So we are going to look at these, and these are some conjectures that Mr. Ching's students came up with, and we're going to see if they are correct or not, and then give our argument or explanation as to why, okay? So we have 1 in and 1 out. Then we have 2 in and 3 out. 4 in and 7 out. So we have to see what our rule was, what happened inside our little machine that got us these numbers, okay? All right, so if you look, your very first one that you have is to multiply by 1, okay? So let's see if this works. Remember, it has to work for all of our rows. So if we multiply by 1, we're taking 1 in and multiplying it by 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So it did work for that one. But let's see if it works for this next one. 2 times 1 is 2, not 3. So no, it did not work. You need to circle no. Why did it not work? Well, let's see if it worked for this one. 4 times 1 is 4, not 7. So our argument is it only worked for the first row. Okay, so that's what you need to put in your explanation in your argument area. It only worked for the first row, because if it was going to be the correct rule, it would have worked for all of those. So that is a valid argument, okay? So write that down. If you need to pause, but I'm going to keep going, okay? So now look at our second one. We are adding 3, okay? So let's see if it works. 1 plus 3 is 4. Did we get the right out? No, we did not. So that rule is not going to work. But let's just see if it worked on any of these. 2 plus 3 is 5. So it didn't work there either. 4 plus 3 is 7. So it only worked for our last row. So this rule only worked for the last row. And so we're going to circle no. Okay? This rule only worked for the last row, so we know it is not the correct rule as to what actually is going on in this number diagram table. Okay? Now, fingers crossed this one works. Let's see if this works. So we're going to double the number that we put in, and then we're going to subtract 1. Okay, so this is 2 steps, but let's see how it goes. So if we're doubling, that means we're multiplying it by 2. Okay, that's what it means when it says we're doubling. So 1 times 2 is 2. Then we have to subtract 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So it worked there. Now let's see. 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 1 is 3. It worked for our second row. Let's see if it worked for our last row. It might be the right rule. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. So did it work for all of our rows? Yes. This rule was correct for all rows. Okay? Simple arguments, simple explanations, but they still give us that correct outcome and that correct awareness of what we were looking for in this problem. Make sure you fill out your chart completely, pause if you need to, and then jump back on and see what's next. All right, awesome job on that today, class. So now what I want you to do is turn the page, look at page 48 in the math journal, and it's going to be the math boxes for this lesson. I want us to jump right into these math boxes, and I want you to take some time and look at these, and then we're going to look at our home links as well. So look at page 48, and for number 1, you're finding the perimeter and the area, okay? So remember, when we find the area equals length times the width, okay? Length times width equals area. If we're looking at the perimeter, remember the perimeter is the outside, the area is the inside. The perimeter for this one, you just add all the sides, right? So we have length plus width plus width, okay? We talked about a couple different equations, but that's going to be your easiest one to remember right now, okay? Awesome. For number 2, you are going to circle the set of lines that appear to be perpendicular to each other. So remember, if they are perpendicular, that means they will cross, and they will also make a 90-degree angle. So they won't just cross, but they will have a 90-degree angle when they do so. There are 3 of those for number 2. You are going to be circling 3 of those line groups, okay? Look at number 3. They want you to estimate, okay? They want you to do an estimation of this, which means you're going to round or use your close to method and figure out the answer by estimating. You're not solving it with the actual numbers. You're estimating what it's going to be, okay? Number 4, you're going to name the prime numbers, 8 prime numbers under the number 20, okay? Then you're going to name 10 composite numbers under 20. Look back at your chart if you need to. We did all these, okay? So just look back at your chart, and your chart is on page 44. So for number 3, you can use your, on number 4, you can use your chart on page 44, okay? And then, how do you know that a number is prime, is what this one is asking. You know a number is prime if it only has how many factors? If it has 2 factors, the number and 1. right? You only have one in itself for it to be a prime number. Awesome job. Now I want you to go and get your home links book, okay, and turn to page 47. Get your home links, turn to page 47. If you're not there yet, pause it until you find it and then come back to the video, please. All right, so you're now on home links 47. So these you're using multiplication to solve these problems, okay? So when you do that, they are giving us the information we need. We just have to make sure we apply it correctly, okay? So look up at the very top. They give us some important information that you cannot overlook. For this whole page, for problems 1, 2, and 3, you are going to be using this line. It says a home market sells 3 grapefruits, okay, 3 grapefruits for $2. Okay, that's important because it says Darius spent $6 on grapefruits. How many did he buy? You're going to use words, numbers, or diagrams. You don't have to show it in all 3 ways, but you do need to show your work so I can see how you thought this problem through. Okay, you do not have to use all 3 ways to show your work, but you have to show your work so that I know what you did and I can follow your thought process. Okay, number 2 says Jana bought 15 grapefruits. How much did she spend? So you have 15 grapefruits. So how many groups of 3 is that? If you have 15 and you're putting them into groups of 3, okay? And each group of 3 is worth 2. So let's say this. I'm going to do a test problem with you, okay? This is not on the paper, all right? This is not on the paper. This is an example. If I went to the store and I bought 21 grapefruits, okay, I want to see how many groups of 3 that is, or I can look at it, I can either draw a picture or I can say, what times 3, because we're buying them in groups of 3, what times 3 gets me 21? Think about that for a second. What number times 3 gets you 21? Because I bought 21 grapefruits. Think about it. It's 7. 7 times 3 is 21. So I have 7 groups. And so that number, 7, is what I'm going to multiply by 2. Okay? Because for each group of 3, it's $2. Okay? So what is 7 times 2? 14. So if I bought 21 grapefruits, I spent $14 on my grapefruits. Okay? So that's how you need to think about problem number 2 on home links. Now look at number 3. On the back of this page, write a multiplication story about buying grapefruits at home market. Show how to solve your number story. So you're going to make up a problem and then show how to solve it, just like I did, okay? I made up a problem of buying 21 grapefruits and I walked through how to solve it. But since you're not going to be verbally telling me how you solved it, you need to show me how you solved it on the back of this page, okay? So when you turn in your home links for the day, you need to take a picture of the front and back when you upload so I can see your problem for number 3. Great. Now, it says to write these bottom numbers for numbers 4 through 7 using words. I know it might be a little tricky at first, but I want you to focus and do your best and try your very best to get these accurately, okay? And do a great job today. You guys did awesome on this lesson. And so you're going to be turning in, I want to see a picture of your math boxes, and I want to see the front and back of home links for today. Awesome job, guys. Make sure you upload those pictures for me today. Have a great day.